Hello guys, welcome to another video. So today we'll be discussing about how to use the customer data so as to we can perform the analytics on that, which will be helpful for us in our analytical CRM. So before we start about the analytical CRM, first we will understand what exactly is analytics. Analytics provides a deep insight into the customer and the cost to serve each customer. So whenever we are running analytics, then we'll be able to understand the customer behavior and then his likes and purchase and also his purchase capacity. So many things we'll get to know. So this will help us to understand the customer better, and also how much the cost is involved to serve each customer can be known with the help of analytics if you are able to run on analytics on the customer data. So what it will do is analytics will enable organizations. So with the help of these two, it will help to improve the customer value, improve customer satisfaction, and also it will lower the cost to serve. So these are some of the advantages of running the analytics. So if you see this overall picture, how the analytical CRM is. First the CRM data, which is the customer data, and then the enterprise data, and then the data got from the telephone data and the social media data. So this data is with the company. Some data can be taken from the telephone data and the social media data. So all this data we are storing in a place which we are calling it as a data warehouse. We have discussed about the data warehouse in our previous video. So data warehouse is a place where all the data is stored. And then on this data, if you are able to run the CRM analytics, that is with the help of the software, then there can be three outputs which are normally used. One is the standard reporting, another is the OLAP analysis, and the third method is the data mining. With the help of these three, we'll come to know more about the customer. So this is how the entire analytical CRM process is. First we'll get the data from different sources, then that will be stored in a data warehouse, then we'll run the analytics, and then on the processing we'll get to know this information in a actionable data. We'll see how it happens. So we know that the customer life cycle, there are basically three phases: acquisition, retention, and the customer development. So with the help of these, when you are running the analytics, there are two important terms that we need to understand. One is the next best action. So what this NBA or the next best action will give us, it gives us insight into the customer data, and then based on the customer service agent who is having this data of the customer, then this software automatically will help this customer service agent to identify what the next action he should take so that he can convert the customer into a profitable customer, or he can retain the customer. So this is the next best action which the system itself is giving with the help of the doing a predictive analytics. And another one is the next best offer, which is similar to the next best action, where for example, if you are trying to do some price personalization for a customer, then the next best offer can be used so as to, depending on the negotiation happening with the customer, then the next best offer can be generated by this software. So it's a subset of the next best action. Okay, next we have understood that the data customer is mostly structured and unstructured. There are two types of data. So unstructured data is the one which does not follow the predefined data model. It is like basically a text or the PDFs or the handwritten notes or the images. So nothing can be known by the system by looking at these data, and these are unstructured. So whenever we are trying to run an analytics and trying to understand or try to develop an intelligence from this data, then that is known as a text analytics. Okay. So what exactly is text analytics is? It extracts relevant information from the unstructured text files, and then it transforms into structured information. So we are transforming the unstructured data into somewhat structural information, or which is the useful information. So this is the entire process of the text analytics. That is the transformation from unstructured data to the structured data or the structured information. Next, what are the different methods then which can use the text analytics. One is the automated routing. One of the methods this text analytics is useful is like email forwarding and spam detection. We all know that emails are basically nothing but consist of the text. So it consists of plain text. When we are running an analytics on this, then we can identify by the content of the text whether this email is actually a spam email or it is a genuine email. In the Gmail, you will see there are some spam emails which the Google itself will identify and will put in the spam folder. So this is actually done using a text analytics in the background by the Google. Another method is the root cause analysis. Like sometimes from the text of the complaint, we can identify what is the root cause of the problem. So this is also helpful in knowing the RC, which is the root cause analysis. And then sometimes by looking at the text, we can understand the trend as to how this customer is behaving or how the data is actually useful in understanding the trend. So this is useful. Next is sometimes based on the text, the sentiment can be known. So how these customers, feel and think about a company. Let's say they are giving a positive feedback or negative feedback. Just by looking at the text or by running an artificial intelligence on that, we can understand how the customer is feeling and thinking about a particular product or a company. So next important term is the big data, which is now useful nowadays. With the invent of social media like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and so many places are there where customer is actually putting the data about his likes, dislikes, about his opinions, about his own ideas. So all this is nothing but in the form of a text or it is an unstructured data most of the time. So there's a huge data that is available. So this is nothing but the big data. So as I've just said, this data is unstructured, which is available in the social media. So this data is huge. That's why it is called as a big data. So some of the attributes are the data is huge. That means the volume of the data is huge. And then it is also expected to increase because more people are using social media nowadays. So obviously the volume of the data will increase. And also the variety of data is huge. Variety in a sense, some of the data is from email, from social media posts, from images, from videos, as I have just said. Next is the velocity. Velocity is the streamline producing the real time. If you see in YouTube, like more than 1 billion means many YouTube videos are uploaded in a single day. The same is goes to the Twitter and Instagram posts, and every day in a real time this data is getting updated and it is getting huge with each minute passing by. So the important attributes of the big data is the data is huge, and then there is a huge variety of the data that has to be analyzed, and then the velocity at which the data is updating is also a challenge, so that we should be able to handle this data in the real time. So some of the ways in which this big data can be transformed into a structural data is one of the big data solutions, the Hadoop. So Hadoop is one of an open source framework. It's basically a computing technology with the help of which we can do a fast computing on this data. Just remember that Hadoop is one of the solutions for the big data to be transformed into structural data. Now moving ahead to the structural data, we have discussed in the previous chapter also. Structural data is where the data is structured in the form of rows or columns, or it is defined in a specific manner. So all the data is stored in a defined manner. Like example, it can be groups or categories, the product types, the gender, or the country. So we can specify the product with from gender wise, the customer use, where the country it is, or which category of people are using it. So we can structure the data in this form. So this data is the structured data. So some of the various types of data in the structured is a continuous data, means we can store the data continuously like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it can go up to infinity also. So the data is continuous. And another type of storing the data, the structured data is the nominal data. We can classify, identify, or categorize. Like categorizing the data based on the country or based on a gender, male or female, then that is also a type of a nominal data. Just remember these definitions. Then ordinal data. So actually ordinal data is depending on the variable being measured. So what happens is, if you are trying to take 2 or 3 data, then we based on a variable, let us say the variable can be gender, then we can classify this data, mean these products based on the gender that are using it. So the important term in knowing the ordinal data is a characteristic, then the other observed case. So like some of the characteristics of this data is taken, like example here gender is one of the characteristics. Then if you are storing this data structurally using this or in the form of ordinal data, then it will be useful. Next, another important, we have seen in the previous slide also, one of the ways to generate the analytical insight is through standard reports, OLAP and the data mining. So we'll be discussing in detail. So standard reports are, most of the CRM technologies enable the automating creating of the periodic reports. So these reports are in the form of the sheets or pie charts, which are very easily understood and which are used in most of the offices and most of the companies by common people. So this is a standard data, standard reports. So visualization to like tables, charts, graphs, maps and all. So sometimes this data can also be transported to other applications like Excel or something. So these are standard reports which we all know. Next, analytical processing is the online analytical processing, which is OLAP. So OLAP technologies allow stored data in the data mart. We have understood in the previous video that the data mart is nothing but a subset of the data warehouse. So it's basically a small chunk of data in the warehouse. Okay. So OLAP is used for this data mart. Just remember this is important. So as I've said, it's a subset of the data in the larger data warehouse. Like if you to be more specific, the sales department would need only the data mart related to sales information. So this way, the sales related information can be given to the sales department. So the sales data is nothing but a data mart. Likewise, the revenue data can only be given to the revenue department. Then this revenue is a data mart that can be used by this revenue department. So in this way, by categorizing or by using the data mart which is at a specific department, then we can run a process with the help of the OLAP technology. Another method to run the text analysis means analytics is the data mining. So data mining is nothing but understanding the data and then running an analysis with the help of some algorithms, with the help of descriptive and the predictive analysis, so that this data can be modified into actionable insight which can be helpful for the marketing, sales and the service functions. So understand that there is huge data, and like when we go deep into that and trying to understand this data, then that is nothing but a data mining. So data mining, it uses many of the methods. Some of the methods is a classification, estimate, sometimes it predicts, sometimes it clusters. So these are the different algorithms or different ways in which the data mining can be done on this data. Okay. So one simple way is the classification. If you see the simplest example, classifying a data is on based on the gender. Estimation, prediction, affinity grouping. These are very straightforward. Just understand the definition. Clustering, where we are actually from the diverse from the diverse data set, like the different data sets, then we can just cluster the data into different groups. So this type of data mining into different clusters is known as a clustering. And then there are two subsets of data mining, which is a directed data mining and another is undirected data mining. So directed data mining is something which is predictive. So what it is doing is predicting some future value. So this is a directed data mining. Just remember the definition. Like here we are doing the prediction. So how this prediction can be done is with the help of the decision trees. If there are some decision tree algorithms based on which if you run the algorithm on the data set, then we can understand the then we can predict some of the future values. So that is the directed data mining. Another is the undirected data mining, which is also known as unsupervised data mining. So in this, there is no, we are not predicting anything. It's an exploration of data to see what can be learned. It is just understanding what the data is saying, that's all. We are not predicting the future or something like that. We are just understanding or trying to get a gist of or the summary of what the data is saying. So such type of analytics is the undirected data mining. This is how the customer data, by running the analysis, by running the analytics, CRM analytics on the data warehouse or where the data is stored, then we can generate the standard reports or the OLAP reports. So this is how these analytics are useful for the customer relation management. So if you have liked the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more amazing videos, and thank you for watching.